think you missed the entire growing season or that it's over, then don't worry. August is still a great time to get some seeds planted. And in this video, I'm going to give you my list of 11 veggies that both warm and cool gardeners could plant. And I'll share some recommended varieties that you could grow for those of you who stay till the end. For the first crop, it's a sweet fall classic. That crop is carrots. I'm going to be planting my carrots in that bed over there, since it's just full of weeds for the time being. Now, some people seem to struggle with starting carrots, but it's never been that way for me. The way I plant my carrots is just by scattering seeds over the bed and covering it. You don't want to cover the seeds with too much soil because carrot seeds is so tiny. The next is I like using a piece of board or metal to cover the area that I planted. The board and the metal helps to lock moisture underneath and keeps the soil cooler. When the carrots grow, they will get sweeter as the weather gets colder. But it takes time for the leaves to get established, so you have to start them now in the beginning of August. For an orange carrot, I would suggest growing the Denver half-longs carrot, and for a yellow carrot, I would suggest the Amarillo carrot. The next crop to sow now is bok choy. Asian greens are a very fast-growing crops and takes about 45 to 50 days from seed to harvest. A variety to try that performs really well for us is the Shanghai green bok choy. It's one of the most heat-tolerant varieties and slow to bolt. There is also the milk choy, which is slightly heat-tolerant, but it's a classic type of bok choy. And a new variety of bok choy that I'm going to be trying this year, an Asian green, is the Kangtong white bok choy and the Mibuna early Asian green. Unless you're growing a heat-tolerant variety of bok choy, then it's best to start bok choy in the 3rd or 4th week of August. The reason you have to start them later is that they will bolt when the weather is too hot and they won't be able to reach their full potential. But if you really want to start them now in August, then you could use shade cloth that is like a 30 to 40% shade to protect your bok choy from the heat. I'll leave a link to some shade cloth that you could get. And the planting depth for bok choy is 1/4 inch. And then sow your seeds and cover them back. Then you want to give it a deep watering in. Kale is one of the most cold hardiest greens you could grow that you can't forget planting this month. Kale too, like carrots, will begin to get sweeter as the weather becomes colder, because the starches in its leaves starts to turn to sugars. Most kale takes 60 to 70 days to produce, but if you want a fast producing variety for an early fall harvest, then I recommend growing the red Russian kale. And this kale takes 50 days from seed to harvest. Now, because we grow kale mainly for the production of its leaves, you want to make sure that the soil has enough nutrients to grow. To do that, we like using cow manure as it's one of the best and is high in nitrogen. If you can't get cow manure though, you could also use blood meal and apply it at the time of planting and it will work the same. Now, the way for starting them is the same way as you do your bok choys and Asian greens, as they are a green that is very similar. The 4th crop that you can't miss sowing in August is spinach. Spinach is pretty easy to grow, but because we're sowing spinach for a fall crop, while it's still summer, the germination wouldn't be that great. But there is a trick that you could do that will help fix this problem. You'll want to plant a variety of spinach that is heat tolerant. This Amelia spinach is a good variety that I've grown, and I'll be growing the giant noble spinach, which takes about 40 to 48 days to harvest. And it'll be even sooner if you're harvesting for baby spinach. So a tip is to put your seeds in a damp paper towel and into a container in the fridge for a few days. Afterwards, you can take it out and they'll germinate. I've even got some to germinate in 4 to 5 days before I took it out of the fridge, because the fridge tricks the spinach seeds into thinking that it's been through winter and that it's springtime, so they germinate. If where you live though is still above 25 degrees Celsius during the daytime, don't plant spinach yet. wait till the middle or end of August to plant your spinach. Good for everything. Good for everything. I have Tweaker here with me, and I have some leftover blueberries here. So we're going to see if Tweaker wants to eat some. Hey. Okay. These berries are nice and cold. Tweaker seemed to like it. I hope you keep you a little cooler. Here's some more. Make sure you guys peck like in the comments for Tweaker if you like seeing her in the video. Oh, Tweaker! Wah! Okay, Tweaker. I have a confession to make, which is that I really struggled to grow radish, and for the first year I grew it, I got some good radishes, but I think it might have just been by chance. I'm not perfect at growing radish, but that's okay, because if we were all perfect at every single crop growing, then what would be the point and the fun in gardening? So, I'm still going to be starting radishes, and I am pretty good at that. So I'll show you how to start some. To plant your radish, you actually want to plant them in the spot that they're going to grow because they do not want to be disturbed later. To sow radishes, you'll want to make a nice trench about 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. I make sure to sow enough so I'll have enough radishes to enjoy. And then you want to take your seeds and sprinkle it evenly, trying to space the seeds apart by about 1 to 2 inches. Then next is to cover your seeds back. Make sure to keep the soil moist for 3 to 4 days while the seeds germinate. As the radishes grow, you can thin them out by pulling out the one that is biggest and leaving the rest to continue to grow so those ones could get big. Radishes like these only take 25 to 30 days to produce. And if you're living in a warmer climate, then you wouldn't want to plant radish right away, as they do tend to like the bulk. Plant your radishes a little later when the weather cooled down. The next crop is lettuce, and it is better direct sown. To sow my lettuce in a shallow trench that is less than 1/4 inch deep, I'm just going to be sprinkling some of my lettuce seeds in the trench. After, I like to cover my lettuce seeds back, and I just barely cover it because lettuce seeds don't need to be covered that much, and they will actually germinate better when exposed to daylight. For leaf lettuces though, I'll just take my seeds and I'll smoothen out the surface of my soil and try to make it as level as I can as possible. Then I just scatter my seeds over the soil and cover them lightly back. Once the young lettuce have grown to be about 2 to 4 weeks old, you can dig them up and transplant them into other places of your garden. For the biggest heads of lettuce, make sure to amend them with some fresh compost or cow manure because they are a leafy vegetable and nitrogen promotes leafy growth. Peas are pretty easy to grow, and you could be getting a harvest of fresh, crunchy, sweet peas if you plant them now for the fall. From seed to harvest, peas take 60 to 70 days to grow, so you want to start them now in the beginning of August for an early harvest in the beginning of October. If you think that would be too late for you, then don't worry, because you could grow this Alaska pea variety, as this one is a shorter producing day one and will only take 50 to 55 days. You could also grow some of these other quick producing varieties, which is Strike, Swiss Giant, Early Frosty, or Mr. Big. These ones all take around 50 days from seed to harvest. With your variety selected, you want to take some of the peas and put them in a glass of water. After 6 to 12 hours, you could drain the water and then plant the peas directly into the ground. The depth for planting peas is 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch deep, and they can be planted every 2 to 4 inches apart. Now, an important note that I would have told myself in the past is to get some proper insect netting and use it to protect your peas, because the birds always like to get in, and when the peas are about this tall, the birds would always get in and devour them all. You don't want to do a sloppy job when it comes to protecting your peas. Build yourself a proper hoop that will protect your peas from all sides around and get your peas covered. I'll leave a link in the description to some insect netting. That way you could get it and use it to protect your peas. Once your peas reach to about the size of the peas that I have here, I find that just clipping the peas to the trellis help them, because once they get attached, they grow very quickly. The next crop you could sow now is Swiss chard. Swiss chard is great for eating, but it's also very colorful and will bring a pop of color to your garden. You can grab a mixed variety of Swiss chard like this one that is bright lights, and it includes all the colors. Some people say that the white varieties of Swiss chard taste better, but we grow mainly only the color ones, and I find that the taste isn't that much of a difference. The taste is almost exactly like a spinach, and you could use it in the same way, and we especially like using it in stews. But the biggest benefit of Swiss chard is that you could actually start them now, because they are extremely heat tolerant, so they don't bolt and the flavor tastes good. I already have some Swiss chards here in this bed, so I won't be starting any more of it for this month. The ninth crop is beans. For a long time we planted beans and we thought that it was a total waste crop. Before previously we had always grown a purple bush bean type of variety, but last year we decided we'll try planting the beans, but we also plant some pole beans just to see if it could help boost our harvest. And when harvest time come, the bush beans did not produce as much as usual, but the pole beans that we planted went on to produce so much beans that we had to go out every few days with huge big bowls just to pick all the beans that was coming off the plant. And again this year, I'm growing the same bean that has produced so well for us last year. I actually planted it at the bottom of this trellis, and now as you can see, it's grown so tall. So what is the secret variety of beans that I'm growing? Well, it's this Blue Lake pole bean. This is actually one of my picks for my fellow warm season gardeners, as it takes 70 to 90 days from seed to harvest, but you can still try growing it if you live in zone 6 or 7. Celery can be started on August, and it's in fact the right time to start it for those of you living in the subtropic areas. To start celery though, they take about 110 to 130 days, and they like to be started in an inside environment because they take 3 to 4 weeks alone for the seeds to germinate. For a classic variety of celery, you could grow Utah celery, or if you'd like more color, you could grow the Chinese pink variety. The 11th crop you could now sow in August is cucumbers.
Cucumber, cucumber, cucumber land.
The cucumber variety that I have for you is the Bait Alpha. Bait Alpha is a partner carpet cucumber, which means you don't have to do extra work to pollinate the cucumbers if the bees aren't around. And the cucumbers are also seedless. These cucumbers aren't GMO, so they're totally safe to grow and eat. If you want to try grow a super long cucumber, then I would recommend the China Jade. So now, as for those of you who stay to the end, here's a list of some of the crops that I recommend growing. My favorite variety to grow for carrots is Amarillo, the Denver half-long. Bok choys I recommend is the Shanghai bok choy, milk bok choy, purple lady bok choys, Cantong white bok choy. The varieties for kale are dwarf curly Scotch kale, white Russian or Siberian kale, and red Russian kale. There is also dazzling blue kale. Spinach, I have the Amelia F1 and the giant noble spinach. For radishes, you could grow the French backfish radish and the cherry bella radish. Great varieties of lettuce to grow is the Marvel of 4 Seasons, red deer tongue lettuce, Grand Rapid is one of my absolute favorite, Lola Rosa, and for a classic, it's the Paris Island Course Romaine. Peas I recommend is the Sugar Daddy pea and the Alaska, which is a selling pea. Swiss chard, I recommend growing the mix called Bright Lights. I really like the Blue Lake bean. For celery, I recommend a classic, which is Utah. My favorite cucumber is the Bait Alpha cucumber. So that right there was the list of varieties for all the crops in this video. Now we've talked about that you could still start and grow cucumbers this month, but it's important that you avoid these 5 common mistakes when growing cucumbers if you want to get a ton of cucumbers from your plants. So check out this video over here where I'll show you the common mistakes to avoid that most people make and either kill their cucumber plant or kill their production. Bye!